Hey guys, what's going on? This is David Chen here on another Digs of Panamex podcast in the beautiful Lit Lounge here in Dallas, Texas. Shout out to Record and of course our newest big sponsor, BlackBox. What's up, David? How you doing? David McKay. First off, we looking good for our age.
We're doing pretty well.
We did good.
Yeah.
I graduated 98. You graduated 99.
99.
Look at the hair.
Yeah.
Looking good. We're just talking about how blessed it has been and how quickly 20, 30 years has passed by.
It flies by, man.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, man, you told me you came from a small little town here in Texas, and now you're in options trading.
Yeah.
So tell me how that happened.
So growing up, I always wanted to learn about the market. My grandfather taught me about stocks, Walmart, that whole deal, Merrill Lynch. And then a friend of mine came up with an idea in 2014 about a retail trading platform based on algorithmic trading, but formatting it for retail traders. So we created this platform to use for retail traders, or like your average Joe people, to be able to have an edge in trading.
Nice.
So that's what got me into it, and I've just been obsessed with it ever since, and I've been doing it since 2015.
The product itself and how it has an edge. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the product started out as an OTC penny stock trading site, which hardly anybody trades anymore.
Right.
Now we have a lot of sophisticated tools for stock alerts, every stock on the NASDAQ, the NYSE, all of the options contracts that trade every day, dark pool activity.
Right.
So, and then we have a social community, which is on the platform every day, led by team traders that are helping them kind of navigate what's going on in the market based on what they're seeing on our system. So everybody's working together to give each person really an edge in their style and strategy of trading. That way they can make money.
When you see a typical consumer who doesn't have the education or the comprehension, but your product has the ability to let them understand that, because options is fairly difficult things to talk about, right?
It's not easy.
It is not easy. I mean, you can't just set up a trade, know your algorithm, set it up, and then look at the commodities where you're at. But when you're doing it, you have this ease of use simplicity. How do you teach people to comprehend and understand the advantages of working with you on options trading on your platform? Like, how do you do that to a consumer so people can understand how to make a product more part of a consumer world?
Well, it was a challenge with options trading, like you said. I mean, it was really difficult. So getting people to just get their feet wet, teaching them to trade stocks first is kind of how we get them acclimated to the whole process. And then we teach them how to trade options contracts the same way you would basically trade stocks. But if you can spot a move, no matter whether it's you're trading an option or a stock, you still capitalize on what you're seeing, if you know what you're doing. So
now, when you say spot a move, for the people that understand, tell them what you mean by a spot a move so they can understand what you're saying and how your algorithm makes that happen quicker.
So seeing an alert triggered by volume, price action, or a combination of different things, variables that occur in the market, and then you have general studies that people apply to their charts, or specific studies that are proprietary to our platform. And once you get those alerts, you see people working together and they're all talking about it, and then people start building ideas and then sharing information. And then people, go into the trade and help each other out, and everybody exits based on their own risk management.
What I love about it is you let people, you empower it and put it back in their hands and let them do that. Now, earlier you showed me something really cool. You did a lot of very cool promo. You had a guy jumping out of a plane. We talked about I would never do that. You've done that, right? During the eclipse, right? Which is really cool.
It was a good experience.
Tell me about why you have that type of styling and how that's helping people understand what you guys are doing on the branding side.
So we basically made trading a team sport.
Right.
Because people working together, it just kind of culminated into this. You've got a big group of people all working together for the same goal, just like a team does. So then we started to sponsor athletes, extreme athletes, because basically the correlation with risk management and doing a sport like skydiving, or we've got a couple of MMA fighters, and just people doing random things that weigh out risk. And actually the skydivers are really good traders. So it's really interesting.
Are they doing it real time up in the air?
I'm
going to give it next commercial.
As long as they got Wi-Fi.
You do that trade on Wi-Fi coming down. Get the options trade.
That'd be the greatest testimonial ever.
There we go, man. That was an idea. Y'all saw that. That's what we do. That's amazing,
have to do
man.
that.
We should definitely do that. Oh, yeah, the trade better than yours.
You're going to be the first one?
I will be the one voicing it over.
All right.
We could jump on a green screen maybe, but that's it. But but you're telling about that because there is a risk, right? But it is a very valuable risk because people don't understand how that correlation works, but you can see it. What makes these skydivers, in your opinion, such great traders?
I think because they're very decisive, they're used to managing risk like your own life. So when you're managing your own life in the air, you're able to be very decisive with what you're looking at in the market, which most people, I'd say 50% of the people I've taught over the years, they learn how to trade, they learn how to spot entries, but then comes the problem of they get spooked out of trades, they deal with their own emotions.
Self-sabotage, fear, yeah.
Yeah. So
crazy, right?
It's a big factor in how successful you are once you learn the ropes.
Right, because as much data as you have, and people see the data, there's still an overwhelming fear that even the data can't outplay when you're dealing with these type of people.
Yeah, even that's one thing we discovered along the way with studying this and all these user cases is when you have all this data and it's just, irrefutable, like it can make money, right? But you have people getting into these trades and for whatever reason, which there's a combination of them, they're just either taking losses, blowing up accounts, or they don't catch all the whole move. So a lot of learning about trading is man versus self, man versus the world, self-discipline,
right? Your ability to spot and hedge,
and really, just being unrelenting at wanting to be successful.
It's crazy because as a common theme in my podcast, the common theme is your unrelentingness to want to be successful.
Yeah.
Right. And you said you came from a small town outside of Texas, right? In Texas, and now you are in a big area with an options fund. As a kid growing up there, I didn't think I'd be sitting here, right? You might not have thought that. But somewhere down the line, you had told me you had the galls to leave in 99.
Yeah.
Right? We have a lot of young listeners.
Moved to Manhattan.
Means.
So
from small Texas to Manhattan.
From a small town of 10,000 people, and I knew it. Something had to change.
Right.
So, I got an opportunity to get in the entertainment industry, and took my shot.
What made you go and take that without knowing people and not being afraid and getting up there?
I think just a desire to want something more. I was in college for 3 weeks, and I was just like, this isn't for me. I was in a history class, slammed the book, could tell the professor wasn't really into teaching, and I walked out, and then that's what made me make the decision.
It's crazy. When you go on that type of journey, most people don't understand. It's a crazy journey with no real evidence or real path to get it going there. But you somehow know deep down inside that you have a path to go to. That you have a destination. There's a fuel that's there, right?
Yeah, you have to be fearless, and I'm going to do this. And there were times where I was like, shit, I'm not going to make it. I'm running out of money.
Dude,
then you figure it out,
You've always
you get up and you figure it out. I've never hustled harder than moving to Manhattan at 18 years old, and it was one of the best things I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, it puts you in a real world position. Yeah. I always tell people when they go to these major cities, like a New York or a Beijing. I did my career at Deloitte in Mexico City as youngest managing partner. I remember going one time, I was in Shanghai, and one of my best friends' name is Timothy Colati. He's from Ohio. And he's telling me that he's sitting in the Shanghai subway. Shanghai's got 20, 30, 40 million people, whatnot, right? And this is an American guy, right? Mm-hmm. And he's now living in China. He's been there for many, many years, a huge, nice like Grant Thornton. And you remember standing in front of the train, and then when people are trying to run, you'll see like in Japan, they'll push.
Yeah.
But in China, they run and they bump into you, right? So he's standing here, he gets pushed back, and he pushed him right back. And I asked him a question. I said, how do you tolerate that in a world where you don't have that space? And he said, in major countries in the bigger cities, the reason that the small cities fail, and there's a fallacy, is because if there's 40 million people, you better move your ass, because if you don't, you're left behind.
It's true.
That's what happened to you at 18.
Yeah.
You realized that quick. You got there, you weren't in the same place, and if you didn't move and you had self-pity, you were going to die.
Yeah.
That was it, right?
Survival instinct.
Survival instinct. The instincts of having the big balls. Like if a train is coming at you, you're not crying. You got to do something about it.
No, I had to learn how to walk faster, talk faster, and do a hell of a lot of things in a much quicker manner than I did in a small town from Texas.
100%.
And that was just the beginning of it.
But how hard was that for you as you're transitioning out? Because then when you go back home and talking to people and you have this mentality, now they're sitting there saying different things about you. You've changed, this and that, this and there. How did you maintain your core and your principle to keep doing that for all these years and sticking with that path?
I think integrity as a person, and being raised with a certain work ethic and appreciation and, being empathic. And I think, I would go home and I'd still appreciate, and I still have the same friends I grew up with.
Yeah.
Still have the same ones, like Tony, the skydiver.
Yeah.
We've known each other since we were kids. But you also got to, I think staying on your own path and not being afraid to be on your own path in life and getting to a place to where you don't have to have any friends to be happy.
That's important. Let's deep dive into that because there's 2 layers of discussion when you just said that. Let's talk about the real layer discussion when you don't have to have friends to be happy. Explain that, what that means to you and the audience.
So really being happy with yourself and secure and knowing, I guess when you do a certain amount of things where you really find out what you're made of and who you are and it brings those things out in you, you don't have to be around people to have assurance in yourself. And if you can't be by yourself, like the ultimate test, like what I like to do is for me, for fun, go to a city I've never been to and hang out there with the locals and go just immerse yourself in the city, right? Go to museums, go see historical places, hang out with the locals, go to a bar, strike up a conversation with somebody. Do it by yourself though. And do it for an extended period of time, not maybe a week to really get a taste of it because you got to dive in. Because that first initial shock is like, okay, I'm uncomfortable, but then you start to feel it and you just acclimate to the city and the place. And it really brings out something, you learn something about yourself each time you do that.
Yeah, it's amazing you said that. My whole career at Mexico City at Deloitte, I would probably say 50% of the time I'd be by myself.
Yeah. And do you enjoy it?
Like anything, right? You get a new city first. I'm a Taiwanese kid in Mexico City at Deloitte. Just like that.
Yeah.
Realize real quickly what you realize. At the financial district, realize what you, like, just like you, I was like, oh shit, like I better figure this out real quick or I'm out of a job, right?
Right.
And I want to go back home. I remember sitting there and, many, many nights, and I couldn't call my parents because I'm supposed to be here. And I couldn't call my friends because they call me whatever they want to call me, right?
Yeah.
And then your girl, you don't want to call her because you want to be weak, right?
Right.
So then you're sitting there by yourself. And that's the real moment where you figure out if you actually like yourself and love yourself. And it is the most scariest moment because now you're sitting at a dinner when you're used to talking to people and you think everybody's staring at you, and some people might and some people aren't, right? And then I'm a foreigner in a different country, right? And then you're hundreds of miles away from home. And then you start to realize that the most beautiful part is everything in life in itself just at that fucking moment.
Yeah.
The birds, the air, the lighting, the fact that you're sitting here and you're still alive. And that was it, man. Just like you. That was it. And through that, I found so much empathy and love because I recognize not many people are willing to go that far. And sitting alone for 10 years in Mexico City, where I couldn't speak the language as fluently to people, where I was getting discriminated against, where I was flying back and forth to all parts of the world, being a Taiwanese citizen in America and China and all the places, you start to realize the thing you realize is if you don't really truly love yourself and in the end it's just you alone, you're never going to make it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not a feeling of let me be disconnected to the human being. That's not what it is. It's the ability to love and understand yourself and accept yourself in order to help and love other people.
Yeah.
And I love that you've done that, man. I think when you lead with those principles, especially in business and trading, you don't have a fear mentality. Because you just know, just a bad trade today will be a good trade tomorrow.
Yeah, you got to shake it off.
All the time. My favorite song, by the way, too.
Trading, I'd say it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life because it taught me a lot about myself. Because if you're going to really make it into trading and be somewhat successful or really successful at it, you're going to learn a lot about you. Like that additional 50% I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. You learn a lot because it's nothing, between you and success other than yourself and looking in the mirror every day.
That's right.
Those bad trades, you just have to learn to shake them off, man, immediately like that.
And it's
almost robotic.
It is. And that's almost, I feel like that is the standard in life. Like a bad trade is a bad business deal. It's a bad day. It's a bad emotion. You flip it off and you move forward from it and you continue to go from there instead of sitting there and stuck and dwelling. The other thing I like about what you're doing is this is the added advantage of they talk about. You know when to hold them.
Yep.
You know to run away, right? Yeah. You know when to.
Kenny Rogers.
Right? Yeah. You can't count your money sitting at the table, right? But how real is that now song when I say it like that? Well, you do know when you have to hold them. You do know when you're supposed to walk away. And the ego is the hardest part of all of that, right? So in options trading, it's either you do it or you don't.
Yeah.
And that's why you said being sure of themselves is what makes people very consistent.
And that's what's like interesting about it, because like I think I heard you say, or Paul maybe said, Matt Damon still has this feeling about, do I belong here? Every trade, you're like, am I doing the right thing? You get that unassurance. It shakes you up. It's kind of euphoric. It makes you feel alive. But you have to hold your shit together. You have to hold things together and focus, even if you're wrong.
Even if you're wrong.
Yeah.
And even people calling and people screaming and yelling, and your ability to keep your faith on your product is the hardest, most important thing in life I think anybody could learn.
That's true.
And you've been doing that.
It's well said, man.
Fucking dope, man. I like this. See, this is a very spiritual moment, things that we're talking about. I love that principle that you're leading with, right? Because you understand fortitude, you understand gratitude, you understand reality, and you understand lack of ego, because the numbers are the numbers, right? And you've also seen people not be successful because of their fear. And then you've seen the opposite, where the most successful people who are jumping off of planes are very definitive because they know that they don't do it, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Right? I always tell people that, like, your life is literally like Crossroads chicken.
Basic.
Forward, back, left, right. Hope you don't get squashed. Maybe you get a coin, right? And then you got a quick break and life comes, got to keep moving.
Yeah.
Right? And I love that the principles that you think of as a human being and in your businesses rely on a principle of just moving forward. And that is a cool principle to have, man. That really, really is. You know, as we're wrapping up and going from there, what is one piece of advice that you can give our audience?
Be bold.
Be bold.
It's calculated risk. Take it.
I like that. In Spanish, called have huevos.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Now, tell us about your social media handles and the website where everybody can find you.
So at BlackBoxStocks on all the socials, and you can find us at BlackBoxStocks.com. So welcome to the world of trading. BlackBoxStocks is the ultimate tool for traders, and we're here to help everybody be as successful as they can be. We've been doing it for 9 years now, over 50,000 people, and we're still growing, still going.
We're going to make that year 10 will be super sexy, man. Amazing for the things that you're doing in this world. And continue your faith. And, man, thank you for your time today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, David.
Thank you for coming. For our Lit Lounge, Record, and thank you to my buddy Kane for setting all this up tonight. I appreciate it. For all my entire team for being here as well. And our studio audience live, thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next time on Patanomics.